Okay, so I've painted the outside with the white Krylon Fusion, and then after that dried, I actually decided to paint the inside using the same smoked gray. After that dried, then I went ahead and taped off the areas that were cut out, and we're going to be using the same smoked gray to add a little weathering to the helmet. So what I want to do is first start with some of the underneath here. Just lightly go under. Near the bottom ring area. Just going to add some of the shadow effect here. A little bit to the bottom of the dome there. A little bit to the side of the face. And I taped this off to make this gray, but I left it open so I can tackle this all at once. So inside here is where I'm going to want to paint it fully gray. Start off with a little bit of a tack coat. Make sure you get all the different angles. Okay, so just get a nice tack coat first, and then go ahead and go over the rest of the armor. I mean the helmet, getting all the gray that you want. And go back to that and cover that in a little bit more. So there you go, that's the first start of the helmet. Using the smoked gray that we've been using for the rest of the helmet and the armor. The visor here, just giving it a little bit of a mist of the gray. Along the side here, that's going to help the edge pop. You go on both sides, on the tabs there, and on the bottom. And if you want to spray a little bit on the inside, give that darker shadow effect. And lightly along the back. That's pretty much what you want to do with the visor. If you want to hit just a little bit on the top, depending on what you're doing with the rest of your dome on your helmet. Since I might put it on the dome, I'll go ahead and hit it just a little bit. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so after I sprayed the mist of gray on the helmet, taking the sanding sponge again, and just going around it, and leaving some of the gray in the crevices. As you can see on this side, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Alright, so this is after I've sanded the gray, leaving some of the gray in the lower recess areas to help this middle section pop up, and of course in the lower sections as well, and sanded a little bit on the sides there. So that's basically what you want to do, is also around the bottom edge here, leave a little bit of the gray. That just kind of helps the contrast of each rib there pop when you put the back piece on. Kind of helps add the shadow in there, and as well as in here, leaving that a little bit of gray. And that's pretty much the way it's going to look at this point. I'm going to add the almond to it to give it a little bit of that desert weather, and it'll be good to go. So now I'm going to use the almond Krylon and give it a little bit of the sandy mist with the visor on, so everything's in unison, the same color here. On the top. This is just going to create the dust look. The further away you get her, the further away is better. Sorry about that. And that's pretty much going to be it. So we've masked everything off so we can spray the green. What we're going to be using is the Krylon Italian Olive. You don't want to put it on heavy. Just mist it on. Try to get all the different angles of these blocked areas, if you will. Put on a nice mist. Don't, like I said, don't put it on heavy. You want to basically do what's called a tack coat. So you're going to do that and let that dry, and just add on about the same amount one more time. Just like I said, try to get it green, but don't coat it too heavy. And I'll show you what that looks like after the second coat. Okay, so I've applied a tack coat to the helmet face area. Now I'm going to be doing the same thing to the visor using the Italian Olive. Basically just putting on a light mist onto the areas here. You just really want this to build up a tack coat. Don't put it on too heavy, and I'll show you what it looks like after we do a second. Okay, so I finished spraying the green. One thing you want to be careful of, if you notice I got a little crackle here, that was from spraying a little bit too much. It's best to lay it on with thin coats. What I'm going to be doing now is adding an almond, and it's basically just be a mist from far away, just to kind of cut down some of that green. Kind of give it a dust effect like we've done on the rest of the armor parts. After this dries, I'll be using a sanding sponge to cut down. Okay, so I sprayed the mist of the almond on top of the green and I've let that dry. I recommend using the medium grit sanding sponge and leaving the masked area so that when you're sanding you don't smear the green into the white area. So I'm just going to sand away on this a little bit here. Sorry, my baby's crying, but he's with my wife. She's the one recording, so no worries there. Anyways, so I'm just going to sand like this a little bit in different directions, revealing some of the white around the edges. And I'll do this and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Okay, so I've sprayed the almond mist over the green. I've let that dry. I'm going to be using the medium grit sanding sponge. Basically, I'm going to be knocking down the shine with this and giving it a little bit of the weathered look. And the nice thing about this, if you notice, when you sand over, it actually brings the green out and kind of kills that muddy gray look that you get directly out of the spray paint can, which brings it truer to the color that we see on the animated series. So just going to hit it in different directions, kind of using the corners of the sponge. Definitely leave the masking on the helmet while you're sanding, because it will smear the green into the white areas if you unmask it while doing this. So I'm just going to continue and do all the parts like this, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done.